What's up, everybody? It's your man, Donovan Sharpe, and welcome to this episode of the Sharpe Reality. At Donovan_Sharpe is where you can find me on Twitter. You can find all podcast episodes on thesharpereality.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Be sure to check out my column at Return of Kings. These days, I'm writing anywhere between 2 and 4 articles a month, depending on my schedule. But there's plenty of great content in my archive over there. So if you're looking for sort of a supplement to this podcast, definitely head over to returnofkings.com and do a search for the archive of Donovan Sharpe. Today I'm going to talk about slut tells that most men are unaware of, red pill aware or otherwise. Now, these aren't the slut tells that we all know about, like tattoos, piercings, things of that nature. These are the slut tells that lie just beneath the surface that we don't quite pick up on right away, if at all, to be honest with you. And again, this includes everyone, and including men who are veteran players. There are plenty of these covert slut tells, but I'm going to give you the 6 most obvious ones to look out for. In other words, you won't have to do much digging or asking questions. So let's get right to it. 1, she lives alone. All right. Now, when you hook up with a chick and you go over to her, you go over to her place and you see she's got a half decent place, you might think to yourself, cool, she's got her own spot. She's responsible. Don't have to worry about roommates walking in on us. When my dick's in her mouth, I might want to have fun with this one for a little while. A girl who lives alone, guys, is a major red flag and definitely a slut tell, and here's why. Women are heavily influenced by people who shame or question any choice they make, from how they dress to what they do for a living and everything else in their lives. But the one thing that makes the most impacts is how many random hookups they have. A girl who lives by herself gives her free reign to fuck as many dudes as her slutty little heart desires without the judgmental gaze of a roommate or the offhanded comment from a relative she lives with. And it's funny. I work with a lot of these chicks in Vegas, and they're always quick to tell you they've got no social life or that I had a quiet weekend. And listen very carefully. If she is even half decent looking, she's lying through her fucking teeth. Girls who live by themselves, they get to fuck a bunch of dudes and nobody knows about it. She gets to be an epic slut without any of the sideways glances from her friends or any judgment from anybody else. In her mind, she's thinking, well, how do they know if I'm taking 5 new cocks a week? So if a chick you meet who doesn't share a residence with another human being, pushing triple-digit notches, and it never takes them long to get there. So pull a bang and bounce and get the fuck out of there and find a new target. Number 2, and I can't explain this one, but it seems to be something a lot of sluts have in common, which is that one of her hobbies is an art, but she sucks at it. All right, guys, listen, I cannot figure this one out for the life of me, but I've fucked so many chicks they're into writing or painting or drawing or music, dancing. It's always some sort of artistic expression that could be judged by subjective analysis. In other words, someone can tell them they suck, but another person can tell them they're great at it. So they stick with it thinking that they're good at it, which they're obviously not. Now, listen, to be fair, there were a few that were half decent, at least artistically. I actually had a fling with a girl who taught a pottery class on weekends, and so she was above average in that respect. I mean, she wasn't professional, but she wasn't that bad. She wasn't really that bad at it. I also dated this one chick when I lived in Brooklyn who could actually draw pretty well. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think she's a tattoo artist now. I'm not too sure. I might shoot her a quick text and, see how she's doing, and I'll probably find out then. But again, those two are the exception in that they had above average skill sets in their artistic hobbies. But every other slut who was a quote artist were fucking terrible. Dude, my ex-wife was into painting when we lived in Florida, and she was bad at it. She was so bad at it. she was so bad at it, and I used to tell her how good she was. And of course, that never got me laid. I was still a fat guy who was a pussy, so that never made a difference. I was supplicating. One girl I was seeing told me she wrote poetry. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm some sort of literature aficionado, but even I could tell that her inner thoughts, they were a fucking dumpster fire. All right. It sounded like she wrote the shit as a fucking kindergartner. I mean, it really was that bad. So I don't know if expressing themselves artistically gives them an escape, maybe from the mental anguish that comes from slutting around. Maybe it helps them. Maybe it helps them cope with getting humped and dumped all the time. I don't know. I'm not a shrink, but for whatever reason, a woman who has a hobby in the arts and is bad at it is a surefire slut tail. I don't know why it is. I can't explain it, and I probably never will. But I've seen it way too many times to leave it off this list. Number 3, and this is a big one. She has worked in a call center or some sort of telemarketing gig at some point in time. I've worked in plenty of call centers, guys. I've sold vacations, foreclosure listings. I've sold cell phones. You name it. I've sold it over the phone. One thing that every one of these places had in common was that everybody was fucking everybody. Reason working in a call center is like an aphrodisiac. I fucked more girls working at call centers than any other job I've ever had. So I'm certainly not immune. Hell, the chick I hooked up with in Vegas that I talked about in episode 1, met her at a call center. So it's all the same. This is how it happens. Girls who either are employed at one of these places are epic sluts in and out of the office, and they're some of the easiest targets out there. And listen, if there's anybody out there listening who's ever had a telemarketing job, you've seen this up close. Happens all the time. Now, you got to be careful when hooking up with these chicks. Telemarketing hoes, they tend to gravitate toward the alpha men. They tend to gravitate toward the best salesmen, the best supervisors, the team leads, all the highest value males that work there. So if you're one of these people, you're solid. All right, you've either got the biggest bonus or the status or both. And just like everywhere else, chicks like to fuck the dudes with the most money and power. This is the dynamic anywhere you go. But if you're not one of the hot shots or heavy hitters, she'll eventually start fucking someone else, whether they be a better salesperson or if they're a supervisor. In other words, they'll upgrade from you because you are of lower value. So she'll start fucking the best salespeople, or eventually start fucking the dude who's in charge of you. Again, it happens and it sucks, but that's the game, fellas. That's how it is. Whether you're out on the street or telemarketing, whatever the case may be, chicks don't fuck the janitor. That's how it goes. So if you're kicking ass on the phone and work your way up, yeah, you'll have your choice in chicks. And if you don't work in a call center, stay away from girls who do, unless you're looking for a fuck friend or a one-time hookup. Because again, guys, females who are or ever were telemarketers are bona fide hoes. A couple of other occupations to watch out for are waitresses and flight attendants. I've heard stories about waitresses who are epic sluts. Of course, flight attendants are epic sluts because they're on the road all the time. They're always flying around. They don't really have a stable home life. Number 4, she's got the 1,000-cock stare. Now, this one, guys, is a little tougher to pick up on, especially if you're new to the game. So let me describe it. Let me describe it for you here as best I can. The 1,000-cock stare it's the look on a woman's face that reveals all kinds of negative emotions all at the same time. Spite, apathy, fatigue, hopelessness. It's all on her face simultaneously. The spite that's on her face is because she's pissed off at the world for not having locked down a man because of her slutty ways. Apathy, the apathy is from being quite literally desensitized to sex, which obviously is one of the many consequences of being a slut. The fatigue comes from being tired of the constant battle to get and keep male attention. And at some point they have to resort to sex earlier and earlier as they get older. And of course, the hopelessness is because deep down inside, she knows she'll never have a relationship with a man that she loves and respects who finds her tolerable outside of sex. So basically, it's the look in a woman's face when she's been rode hard and put away wet by a shitload of dudes. That's what it comes down to. The women who are most likely to have the thousand cock stare are chicks over 30 and single moms. And it's usually a combination of both. Now, I want you to keep in mind that this doesn't discriminate. This doesn't discriminate against young women. In episode 4, I talked about a girl who cheated on me with a bunch of guys. And every once in a while, even these days, I'll scroll through her Facebook feed. And her thousand cock stare, it cuts through my screen like a hot knife through butter. And I don't know, she's maybe 26, 27 years old by now. It'll take a while to pick up on recognizing the thousand cock stare, but once you guys learn how to do it, it's easy to spot. If she looks tired, pissed off, and depressed, okay, she's definitely a slut. Number 5, she works out at a meathead gym. Now, I want to make this distinction. Meathead gym. I'm not talking about Planet Fitness where I'm not talking about Planet Fitness where they literally cut your balls off when you walk in the door, or Curves, or any of these mamby-pamby gyms that do 70% of their business the day after New Year's. I'm talking about the kinds of gyms that have, free weights everywhere, multiple squat racks, at least 10 or more, gyms like that. Now, girls who usually work out at these gyms are usually in awesome shape. They've got great legs, unbelievable asses, flat stomachs. And the reason for this is they don't fuck around with these Nautilus machines or cable machines or those ridiculous fucking workout balls that fat chicks like to bounce around on to pretend they're working out. These chicks are squatting and deadlifting with the rest of the guys. And you can see it in their physiques, man. Like the way they look, it reflects their hard work. Now, even if she has below average looks, her tight body, that tight body of hers, that's going to give her a jump in sexual market value. So you combine that with the fact that she's surrounded by men who are much more fit and muscular than the average male. It's only a matter of time before she starts fucking a few of them. I see this all the time. I know guys down in Vegas who work out at gyms. I know a couple of personal trainers. They're fucking every girl there. So if you meet a girl who's in great shape and works out at one of these gyms, again, she's probably fucking these dudes. She's probably fucking one of these dudes that she's lifting with. I see this all the time. They get passed around. We call them gym hoes. That's just how it is. Number 6, last but not least, she's been married at least once. I tweeted out something this week or last week that said males reach their sexual peak at 18 and women reach it after divorce, all right? This is 100% true. Recently separated or divorced women, guys, those are some of the easiest targets out there, all right? All she needs to see is a little masculinity, and she's dropping her panties before you even know what her name is. And think about it, guys. She's probably starving for attention. She's probably starving for affection. And she's obviously starving for sex because she hasn't been getting it from her ex. Now, listen, she could have been fucking somebody on the side before she moved out or filed for divorce. But when she finally has a place of her own, she can't wait to start fucking dudes on back-to-back nights like she did when she was in college and get away with it, not to worry about hiding it from her husband or her ex-husband. Now, again, I imagine there are exceptions to this rule. But me personally, I've never seen or heard of a recently divorced or separated woman who didn't jump on the carousel the minute she left. They all do this. Matter of fact, one chick told me, she said nothing makes a pussy wetter than divorce papers and newfound freedom, and she was actually a half decent wife, by all accounts. So really, you can only imagine how many cocks a bad wife jumps on after she moves out. So there you have it, guys. My 6 most prevalent, what I call undercover slut tells to look for when screening women. I wanted to do this episode to make sure that men out there are a little more aware of these not so obvious red flags. Girls already know all these, and probably a lot more. But we know damn well they're not telling us shit. So it's on us to give each other a heads up on stuff like this. Girls have fucking master's degree in hide my notch countology. They are masters at covering up their slutty tracks. So anytime you can identify a red flag or a slut tell from the onset that she may or may not be aware of from the jump, it'll certainly help you in terms of your choice of women and act accordingly. That concludes this episode of The Sharpe Reality. Be sure to check out my podcast archive at thesharpereality.com. And if you guys have any questions or comments, or if there is a podcast topic you'd like to hear about, go to the contact tab on thesharpereality.com and send me your thoughts. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you next time.